I know you're ready, sir. Let me know. Okay. It's not cooperating, sir?
No, I won't. It's not, it's just- Take your time.
Ma'am, if we're unable to, if we got technical difficulties, can we continue with the meeting?
So you're not able to do what with it? You're not,
Just a live part.
The live feed.
Right.
We can continue.
It's just, it's-
I know, but,
Right. So, I mean, but you're going to be taking minutes. So either, because you either take minutes and you have minutes available, or, you know, you can put up a recording. So if you're taking minutes, so if you had a technical difficulty, you would note that weren't able to continue, and so you would have your
just want to make.
minutes would reflect that.
Everything covered.
Sir.
Is that it?
Recording in progress.
we are good.
Okay. Ma'am, what time is it? We went back into open session. The time is,
8:09.
excuse me?
8:09 p.m.
09?
Second half.
Okay. Item 7A, discussion consultation, possible action authorizing the superintendent to contract for repairs to the high school auditorium for damages to the facility resulting from water intrusion and matters incident thereto. At this time, we're going to take no action on this one. Okay, we have consideration professional staff, no action because C, consideration to approve the appointment of new at-will staff, ma'am.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the employment of new at-will staff as discussed in closed.
Second.
Motion made by member Nora Guerrero, seconded by Secretary Ray Espinosa. Comments, questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. Passes 7-0. Okay, at this time, I'm going to skip the consent action items and go on to number 9, action items. So then we'll come back to it.
What page?
Well,
Oh,
page 2, yeah, I'm talking about I'm still on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to 9, action items. A, discussion action to approve all CCISD board members and the superintendent attend today's Lone Star Governance Workshop, ma'am.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve all CCISD board members and superintendent to attend two-day Lone Star Governance Workshop.
Question,
Motion, there a motion? Motion made by President Cruz Mata. There a second?
Second.
Second made by member Peggy Young. All right, discussion?
Yeah, question. Are we gonna have to travel or are we gonna come here?
The last we spoke to the representative, they could come down here.
That's what I understood. Good question, sir. Any other comments or questions? Let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. 4, 5, 6, 7. Motion passes, yes, 7-0. Okay, B, discussion action regarding modifications to board operating procedures and board policy BED local and related forms regarding public comment. What we're gonna do here is, it's really 2 parts, so we're gonna split them into 2 action items. The first one I want to deal with is discussion action regarding modifications to board policy BED local and related forms regarding public comment. Ma'am?
And this is changing why? And this is changing why?
And Ms. Paul is going to review case law, recent case law.
Right.
What's the page, sir?
No, I'm on the agenda.
Well, what? So that
Oh,
we
it
can
says
follow.
here,
So that-
125.
125, so we can
Says-
follow, I mean,
Yes, sir. 125.
Oh, that's why we got this.
Yeah, so earlier this evening, I handed out a packet which included a memo from our office that three attorneys in our office drafted or participated in drafting regarding recent cases that have come about. And because of the decisions in those cases, we have made some recommendations regarding your BED local, which is public comment. And so essentially, what happened in the Monroe versus Houston, what happened is there was someone who came to a board meeting and was very disruptive in the board meeting to the point where saying negative things. And it's there, you know, he wore a T-shirt calling for the removal of the principal. He made aggressive gestures and threats, shouting either you take her out or I'm going to take you out. And as a result of this citizens' comments, what happened is the district in that case said, you know what, you're banned. That was very threatening and you were disruptive, and so they issued a ban. And then what happened is he wound up suing the district. And when the court started looking at their local policies, they were vague. And so at the end of the day, what happened is that, yes, the district, you know, has since modified their local policies. But what happened is because of the way those policies were written and because he was banned, right, for saying negative things about the principal, he sued saying, you know, you violated my First Amendment right. And when the court looked at those policies and the way that the district handled it, at the end of the day, what happened is that the district wound up paying this gentleman's legal fees to the tune of $300,000. There was a similar case out of Grapevine, Colleyville, and that had to do with social media posts and some exchanges between the board president, I believe, and the citizen. And at the end of the day, that citizen was able to proceed with summary judgment. And so based on the analysis of these two cases, what we're recommending, and we've made this recommendation to all of our clients, is that we started taking a look at, you know, our clients' BED policies. And so what we're recommending is that the district take action to make some changes. And so you will see those listed. If you look at that memo, it's on just Exhibit 1, revisions to BED local. And so the first thing is that because the viewpoint has to be neutral. So in other words, you can't come up and say, well, what a great job, you know, your principals are doing, but we're not going to accept, you know, anybody saying anything negative, right? That would be the district taking, you know, saying, okay, not being viewpoint neutral. Like it's okay to say positive things, but not negative things. And so that was what the court was taking issue with in these cases that I mentioned earlier. And so the first recommendation that we're recommending is that public comment be limited to what's on your agenda. So in other words, you can't just get up there and start talking about anything. You would only be able, public comment would only be for those things that are listed on your agenda.
What about, Ali, help me out here. Didn't that change like for special meetings? Like,
So for special meetings, what you all had in there is that with special meetings, you could only talk about what's on the agenda, but at your regular meetings,
okay,
anything goes. And so what we're recommending is that you then only allow public comment on whatever is listed on your agenda.
And Lisa, just a real quick, when we met with Mr. Cruz last week, he's also recommending that our agenda items be very concise.
Right, yes, and we can help you all with that in drafting, if y'all need assistance, but yes, having very tightly written agenda items so that there's no question about what it is that is on the agenda. The other thing that we're recommending.
Question, I'm sorry.
Sure.
What if somebody wants to present something that's not on the agenda? We're not going to allow them to speak?
If it's not on the agenda, if it has nothing to do with whatever's on the agenda, then, you could say, we're not going to allow that. Now, you say, well, how is it that a community member could, if they've got a question, they can always contact the superintendent, they can contact the campus principal, and, they can talk to you all. And if you say, you know what, yeah, that's really interesting, I'm going to get with the board president, we're going to have an agenda item so that it can be listed on an agenda. So there are alternative ways for folks to bring things to your attention, whether it's through a campus principal, administration, through you all, and then adding it to an agenda. But if you leave it open where anything goes, then they can get up there and it becomes very difficult to control like what people are saying. If you just have personnel, matters, well then, somebody could get up and start saying, lots of, negative, ugly things, regarding your staff, which you may not want, to do, but you can't,
The thing is that we do have Mr. Winnie read a statement to whoever comes before the board. Right, Mr. Winnie, don't you read a statement that they're just,
Audience
they
patrons.
can't,
Audience, the patrons only, they sign over there and we limit it to what?
but they're warned if they start, talking bad about somebody or whatever.
Even the warning, there's a recommendation also that change the wording of that warning, because also has to be specific, because otherwise it could lead to litigation.
right.
I know that it's been the policy that during a regular meeting, a person a member of the public can sign up to speak about items on the agenda and any other item, but because of what's been happening in the courts, the recommendation is to only limit it to items on the agenda.
And then the other reason is one of the things that we've seen, and this is like across the board with all of our clients, is really since COVID, parents have become much more active, especially, with the school, which is their right. You want active parents, you want engaged parents, but sometimes it can go a little bit too far where people can start calling out, people's names, saying negative things. I mean, sometimes even students, if it's not limited, they just get up there and they just start talking about all kinds of things that aren't on the agenda. And so because of what's happened in these cases and given that we're recommending that you just limit it. But also keeping in mind there are alternative ways for people to address issues that they have, right, with you all. And so part of what's in that packet is a revised script to address what you've said.
And we would still be under the law, this is not coming from TA that say, no, we must do it or.
Right. This is a recommendation. So you all are free to take, part of this or none of this. What we are recommending is because the courts have looked at what are people saying, and then when a school district tries to say, what you're saying is aggressive, it's disruptive, it's this and that, and it's because, they're saying something negative about a staff member and you want to cut them off, that can be seen as not viewpoint neutral, cause them to file a lawsuit. And then in this case in Monroe, the district had to pay $300,000 in legal expenses, had to pay the legal expenses of the plaintiff. And he was the one that, said the negative things, about the district. And so we're recommending tightening up the policy. And one of the ways that you can, address this is just allowing people to talk about what's on your agenda and keeping it limited, is part of the way that you can minimize the other recommendation is you had 5 minutes that someone could speak. We're recommending that be limited to 3 because if they need a translator, remember they get 10 minutes. And so What's typical is 3 minutes. I mean, you can't be any less than a minute, but, 3 minutes seems to be what most people do. So we're recommending that you all take action there. Again, some language, and that's based on what was in the court cases about public comment is not intended for the presentation of allegations of employees or student misconduct. And so that has to do with some of the language that came from the court case. And then we've also, like regarding disruption, we've also included additional things that you all would deem to be disruptive, which would include, profane, threatening, derogatory symbols or language, making violent or threatening gestures during any board meeting, that would be considered disruptive. So sort of expanding, that definition. Again, coming from that court case out of Monroe versus Harris County ISD, Houston ISD, that was one of the things that they, what he got banned from, they included things that weren't in their policy. So we've expanded that, definition of what would be disruptive. And then some additional language regarding some people are bringing in signs and placards. And so then the people in the back can't see, if you've got people carrying big signs. And so if you all want to choose not to allow people to be bringing in signs, placards, and banners. So those are the recommended revisions to BED local.
No electioneering, that's, I guess only in regards to the meetings, right?
Right, during the meeting where people would come in and, having, placards, banners, trying to campaign for a particular, candidate during your board meeting.
Yeah, and I think you need to, err on the side of caution, because if somebody does address the board, they're usually fired up anyway, or they're,
Right.
they're mad.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, sometimes, right, people want to come and they want to say something nice about whether it's you all or your superintendent or your staff. But when you start allowing them, well, you can say nice things about us, but you just can't say bad things about us. That's where, people get into trouble. And so that's why we're, and looking at your BED and reviewing these cases, there's some recommended revisions. And then the board policy, it would be revised consistent with that, but because there are revisions, and you'll see another agenda item regarding that one, but, you can take just BED and decide whether or not you want to proceed with BED local as presented, first and final reading of revisions to.
Is there a motion on the floor to go with the recommendation, ma'am? I'm sorry, ma'am, what is your
The
recommendation?
recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the modifications to board operating procedures, board policy BED local, and related forms regarding to public comment.
Ma'am, we're going to stick to only board policy BED local and related forms, not the board operating procedures. Remember, we split that action item into two parts. We're only dealing with board policy BED local and related forms regarding public comment.
Okay, so the recommendation is the Board of Trustees approve the modifications to board policy BED local and related forms regarding public comment.
Motion.
Motion made by Vice President Mata to approve the recommendation. Is there a second? Second made by Secretary Reyes Espinosa. Comments, questions? All right, let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously, 7-0.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Do you don't need me to stick around with the other?
No, Mr. G and part of B.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night. Bye.
All right, continuing with B, the first part, discussion action regarding modifications to board operating procedures. You guys received the packet. So at this time, I'm asking that a motion be made to table. I'm gonna give you another month, and we can address the action in November.
This one?
Yes.
I, since the table.
Okay,
Second.
motion made by Secretary Reyes, to table. Second, Nora Guerrero. Comments, questions? All right, let's go and take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion passes 7-0. Now, Ms. Carlos, you understand what happened here?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Discussion action to approve the revisions to DEC local requiring the district to provide paid leave to police officers who experience an illness or injury related to their line of duty. Ma'am?
This is a statutory change to DEC local, and the rationale is so that we can be in compliance with House Bill 471, requiring a district to provide paid leave to police officers and emergency medical services who experience an illness or injury related to their line of duty, following the required leave of absence with full pay for a period commensurate with the nature of the illness or injury as required by law. The district has a couple of options regarding additional leave for illness. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the revisions to DEC local, and you have your policy. The first revision is on page 159 of your packet. Number 1, mid-page, circumstances or reasons under which the deletion is a peace officer, and replace it with an eligible employee. Name is mental health leave. So that's the first revision. On page 160, you see an addition of line of duty illness or injury leave or absence as per the statute, the reimbursables, and those are the 2 changes to DEC local.
Motion made by Vice President Cruz Mata to approve the recommendation. A second? You
I'll
second,
second.
sir?
I had a question. Do I wait for the second then?
Okay, so, second?
Yeah.
Let me see. Through second, member Nora Guerrero. Okay, question, sir?
Yes, is there a reason for, or what's the reason for the change of deleting a peace officer and adding?
It's a statutory change. It does, so that we can be in compliance with the 88th legislative session.
In other words, the
Yeah, so we have to.
is an eligible.
To match the legislative orders.
Okay.
We're not pinpointing the name peace officer. It is
Any other questions?
employee.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
No.
No, it's just,
All right, let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Motion passes. Yes, 7-0. D, discussion action to award RFP number 24-52 wallpaper at Benito Juarez Elementary School. And ma'am, your recommendation that we take no action?
That we take no action because we're going to have to cancel RFP number 2452.
Because of the ongoing business?
The what?
Because of the ongoing business?
No, this is a different campus. Different campus.
Oh, but I thought we already,
Yeah, no,
Okay, so there's no action on D.
no.
E, discussion action to award RFP 23-54 kitchen equipment. Ma'am?
Ms. Delgado, do you have knowledge of RFB 2354? So this is our child nutritionist?
Is that for the kitchen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Comment, sir?
bring that.
Parece no que no.
Okay, on that RFP, we had to extend because we only get one bid. We extended up to over the 50, was last Friday. And we got several more quotes, but they're sealed, so I don't know what is the.
So the award, according to the recommendation, the award is to Jean's Restaurant Supply for a total of $227,56.54. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees award the request for proposal 2354 for kitchen equipment. The rationale, and this is something that I do need to point out, is that we need to reduce the child nutrition fund balance so that we can be in compliance. So in other words, we need to spend money that the food service has.
So you're telling us which one your recommendation?
The Jeans Restaurant Supply, it was awarded to Jeans Restaurant Supply on page 174.
Oh, I guess I'm on the wrong one.
I'm looking at the recommendation.
Page 174.
There is a motion on the floor by member Nora Guerrero to approve the recommendation. There a second?
Second.
Second made by Vice President Cruz Mata. Comments, questions? So you had a comment or a question?
No, sir.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Motion passes 7-0. F, discussion action to approve the consulting agreement of Florencio Cepeda Jr. doing business as CCISD Consultative Services. Ma'am?
And so you all have a copy of his consulting agreement. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the consulting agreement of Florencio Cepeda Jr. as presented.
I second.
I have some questions.
Okay, hold on,
Mr.
hold on.
President.
Yes, sir. Okay, so there's a motion by Vice President Cruz to approve the recommendation, seconded by member Nora Guerrero. Okay. Comment, question, sir?
On page 177, I mean, on the bottom, it looks like he's doing a lot of work for federal programs.
The finance part of it.
Yeah.
The finance part of it, so he has to do the drawdowns monthly because the directors don't do that. The finance department has to do the drawdowns. But they do it for federal programs.
So in the past, I mean, when we had
Robert used to
federal
do the same.
programs,
Yep. Robert and Maggie had to do the same thing.
That department couldn't get help from Region 20 like we did in the past to save money?
They don't have
Steve Peterson's not there anymore?
no, Steve Peterson was a consultant too, not with Region 20.
Well, I know everybody saved us a lot of money. Like a lot of money.
Florencio's doing an outstanding job for the district, so
and then on the next page,
78.
is also PIN submission.
Yes, he makes sure, the PEEM submission at the end of the day falls under the business department. When we have to do the final submissions, he has to be able to account for every single thing that goes in there. Because PEEMS has two sides. It has a business side and it has a student side. The campuses and Brenda, the district coordinator, take care of the student side, but he and Brenda take care of the finance part of PEEMS.
Well, isn't civil rights, EEOC, shouldn't that be HR?
No, it's.
Yeah, hold on,
PEEMS.
ma'am.
Because all the
Can we pause on that,
information
Ms.
is
Briones?
on PEEMS.
Oh, I
Yes.
believe we need to
No.
respond. I mean,
Well,
finish
okay,
this.
yeah, I
Line of
mean,
thought.
so that, and then, he only works, and I think I requested, and I don't know if I sent it on time. What was his contract salary for last year? I sent you an email, the overall that we paid.
It's about 115, 120 maybe, 115, 120 annual.
120,000. But don't we get a business manager?
But remember that's the plan. That is the plan. We're going to grow our department. So this year, everybody has to be taskable certified in that department so that we can start transitioning away from Florencio and into our own department.
Yeah, because I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, and here we have people that
I know, Mr. Espinosa, but we have.
were
so right
asking
now-
for stipends and all that, and we can't pay them.
No.
And according to the contract, I mean, it's 6 days that he comes, and it's, what, $100
Where are you at, Mr.
an hour?
Mr. Espinosa? Where are you at?
On page 177,
He's 6 hours.
6 hours, but he's getting paid $100 an hour on page 179.
And mileage?
It's a continuation of his consultant agreement.
Mileage plus meals plus, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I think it's too much money.
I mean, we
I
are.
have a problem maybe giving him a contract till December, but start advertising for a business manager, but. And then honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I mean, on the budget, presentation, and I know, I mean, he was having, meetings with, some of the board members, I mean, I saw him very organized, I mean, he kept telling us, we're in very good shape, we're in very good shape.
No, he couldn't tell us how much money we had.
No.
I've never been in a meeting
He told
like
us,
that.
we're doing good, and then I asked him about the ERSA money, he said, no, that's gonna go for teacher salary, and then all of a sudden, I mean, no, that's going to the kitchen, and really the budget that we got from him, I mean, it was one of the worst budgets I've seen, I mean,
I would have to disagree on that. I think he does an exceptional job.
well, I mean,
It's just,
there's people that are getting paid more than have,
Okay, so, we still have an
well-
issue, I mean, we were addressing.
I'm done with that.
On the PIMS, now ma'am, your issue on the civil rights, your comment on civil rights,
What?
your comment about the civil rights that you follow.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what everybody does up here, and I feel like we're paying everybody. We've got consultants, we've got administrators. I mean, I just feel like we have a lot of money going out. A lot.
and, well,
The trouble I had with him with, when we were, discussing last year about the equipment and everything, I remember clearly he said we had 4.1 million, this was in about April. Then he comes in and said we only have 800,000 to carry into the year. And then when we told us to show us a copy, he couldn't find a copy of what we had going forward. To me, he was not prepared, and he was like playing with the people's money. It's not our money, it's the community's money. But to me, he was not being blunt and telling us what we wanted to hear. He wanted to say what he wanted to say, especially when that report was not ready of how much money we had going in. I mean, Edward Jones, a producer, would have had that right away, and he did not. And that bothers me a little bit.
I want,
Really, and I didn't like it that when we got information from you, we got something from 22, which we were past that budget. We were trying to do amendments. And there's very few things a board can do. We set a tax rate, we adopt a budget, and we oversee the superintendent, but they asked him twice, what are we going to start the year with? His numbers were everywhere. I wrote down like 4 different things. I think that, I think we need a finance manager really, really badly. I know you need one, but I mean, our cost here, it just seems very pricey to me.
I agree that it was not the best presentation, but in terms of his capacity as a chief financial consultant, I trust him with our taxpayer dollar 100%. Remember that you all just were a couple of board meetings ago, were giving preliminary first ratings, and the district is at a 98%.
But the first rating covers a lot of things, a lot, not just
All
our
of this
finance.
included,
Not just our finance, it covers a lot of things.
but mostly finance paid.
Yeah, but I mean, we were struggling to do budget amendments at the end of the year. And
Because we only do budget amendments at the end of the year. We don't do them throughout the year. We come to you with one big budget amendment, which is allowable, and that's when we do it.
well, and a lot of things have changed. I know that. We didn't used to do it that way.
I know that Mr. Mata had a comment.
well, it's like I mentioned earlier, my experience has been good with Florencio. I mean, he's done our budget workshop. He's very knowledgeable. He explains everything where it's understandable. You mentioned it before in previous meetings where you said thank you.
I'm always courteous to people.
So, but, he made it understandable where you can understand. So
No, not really.
in addition to that, we did have a good score. So that's what I don't, maybe that one time, yeah, but other than that,
I mean,
done pretty good.
Okay, Gabriel?
Then I'll have
sorry.
one more
Okay.
question.
No, go.
Can vote.
All right,
It's just
I just,
my experience.
okay, Nora?
no, I just wanted to make sense, I mean, I agree with them, we do need somebody by Dina's side, full-time. But right now, because we don't have somebody, and if we're cross-training or doing this, I mean, we're still going in the right direction.
And then the other thing that I would like.
We're gonna wean off from Cepeda, you know?
Yes, for sure. The other thing that we need to consider is that we're fixing to close some major federal grants. And remember that the last time we closed federal grants, we ended up owing money. Because what happens when you start closing big money, big allotments, is you lose track of, because you don't have the same people looking at the same numbers. So we don't want to do that. Remember that our task with ESSER funds is to avoid a budgetary pitfall, which is what Florencio and I are working on, have been working on. That is coming up this year into next year. So we need to be able to secure our finances because we have to be good stewards of money. We don't want to turn around and end up owing the federal government money because we did not keep track of our expenditures and our consolidation of funds the way we're supposed to.
Sonia, just to.
Hold up,
So through your experience, you don't think we can find somebody local to pay him less than do?
Oh, yes, but for now, because we have to wean ourselves off of all this federal money, Gabriel, we have to be able to do it very responsibly. Because if not, we're gonna have to bring a RIF to you, a reduction in force. We want to avoid that, because I know that that's not a discussion that the board wants to have. But in order to avoid that reduction in force, we have to be very careful with our plans. We've had a strategic plan since the first award was, the first award was not under my administration. But we've already closed that first award, and we did it zero balance. We're moving into closing the second, and we're moving into closing the third, and we've got T-class. So we still have about a year and a half to close out the big millions of dollar grants. And in order for you to be able to do that successfully and keep the staff that we have and keep moving in the direction that we have been moving, it really is critical to keep the people that know the work, that understand the work day to day, month to month, and are meeting with TA, because they just had a meeting with TA last week. So TA also needs to know who your key players are, because you can't be changing personnel every year, because that's when we end up leaving a lot of federal funds on the table, and we end up owing the federal government money. And that's what we want to avoid. So my recommendation is that we extend his contract.
I just have two more, either